In the news tonight, COVID-19 infections remain in triple digits. Test positivity rate concerning. And Fijian workers urged to get vaccinated.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Ateda Lendua.
Bulavanaka, Fiji. Fiji has recorded 266 new cases of COVID-19 in the 24-hour period ending at 8 this morning. One case is from the Nawaka containment zone in Nandi, while the remaining 265 cases are from the Lami Suva-Nosori containment zone. Permanent Secretary for Health Dr. James Fong says the remaining cases are contacts of known cases, cases that were seen in screening clinics and were swabbed, and cases under investigation to determine possible sources of transmission. Fiji has also recorded another death caused by COVID-19. Dr. Fong says this death was previously announced as being under investigation to determine if the cause of death was COVID-19. He says there have now been 15 deaths due to the virus in Fiji, with 13 of these deaths during the outbreak that started in April this year. We now join Josiah Nanunga live. Josiah, are there any other deaths under investigation at this point?
Well, the death recorded today was a 67-year-old man from Suva in Lami. He was admitted at the Colonial War Memorial Hospital in Suva and had a pre-existing non-COVID-19 medical condition, meaning he was admitted for other illnesses. Dr. Fong says during his admission, he was then tested positive for COVID-19. Then it got worse before he passed on. And that is the sole reason as to why his doctors have classified or have determined that his death was due to COVID-19. And one important critical point to consider, he was not vaccinated. And to date, there have been 15 deaths recorded. To date, there have been 15 deaths recorded. Out of the 15, 13 were recorded during this outbreak, which started in April this year. Dr. Fong, however, says 2 death cases are currently under investigation to determine whether they were caused by COVID-19. With all this, we must be thankful that at least 61 patients have recovered. 61 patients have recovered, for the last 24 hours, and which means that 2,568 active cases, 2,568 active cases in isolation at Teva.
Naka, Josiah. The Health Ministry's testing numbers have remained at a high level, with test positivity recorded at 6.8% today. Permanent Secretary Dr. James Fong says all information and evidence gathered indicate that there is widespread community transmission in the Lami Suva-Nosori containment zone. This also means the outbreak is not confined to specific areas, and Fijians are urged to take heed of precautionary measures to prevent themselves from getting infected. He adds the 7-day average of new cases per day has increased to 220 cases per day. There are clusters of active cases in Naitasiri and one cluster in Korvo, and there continue to be cases reported in Nandi, particularly in the Nawachikuma, Nawakalebu and Tramline containment area. Moana village in Rewa province has reduced the number of days for villagers to move out of their boundaries for essential purposes. Turanganikoro Rupeni Yambakivo says villagers are only allowed to run errands in urban centers on Monday, Wednesday, Friday and Saturday. Josiah Nunga reports this is part of the stringent lockdown measures taken by the villagers as the virus looms at their doorstep.
This Moana COVID-19 response team is on high alert following the confirmation of a few cases in surrounding areas.
We have beefed up our COVID community response efforts. The risk is there, and we will not give up in protecting our village from the disease.
It is worth noting that youth members of Moana village are spearheading the drive to ensure all COVID-19 safety protocols are adhered to, particularly for villagers who move in and out of the premises for essential reasons. Now, all safety protocols are stipulated here at the village entrance, and the last requirements, what caught my attention. If a villager travels out or spend a night away from the village, upon their return, they will have to self-isolate for 14 days just to ensure there is no transmission in the village.
There are chances for villagers to contract the virus. That's why we impose stringent lockdown measures to protect our community.
COVID Community Response Team member Sermaia Mbawanga says they are keeping a close watch of people's movement day and night.
We are sacrificing our time manning this checkpoint for weeks now. We want to ensure all villages are safe.
No cases of COVID-19 has been confirmed within the Moana village boundaries, despite few cases emerging from neighboring villages and settlements in the district of Tonga. Jose Nanunga, FBC News.
Over 50 Fijians originally from Totoya and Mothe Islands in the Lau group remain hopeful that they will return home soon after being stranded on Vitilevu for months. Turanganikoro of Rabualu village in Totoya, Semesalesi, says they're working closely with relevant arms of government to ensure all necessary COVID safety travel requirements are met before departing Suva. Details with Josiah.
Most of these Lao natives who are stranded in Suva have been told to complete all necessary COVID protocols if they wish to return home.
We have been advised to serve our 14 days quarantine in Vitilevu. If we are clear, then we will travel to the island and undergo another 14 days of home isolation or quarantine before being released to the community. Right now, we are just waiting for the government to give us the approval to undergo our quarantine period.
With the excitement of returning home, most villages on the islands are maintaining stringent lockdown measures. All of this will come down to proper arrangements by the government with community leaders.
I've been talking with our traditional leaders back in the village, and they are telling me that they are not willing to take the risk. So we are now working closely with the Commissioner Eastern Office to ensure everything is done safely.
And so far we haven't received any confirmation from Aturang Ramasi regarding whether we'll come to for quarantine in the island. And the principal will talk to him sometimes this week or next week.
Lacey says repatriation will be carried out on a 14-day basis for the smooth transition for those who will be returning home and those coming in for quarantine. Jose Nanunga, FBC News.
A fully vaccinated population is the medically proven way towards reopening villages, towns, cities, workplaces, and ultimately borders, so that Fijians can exercise their freedom in a new normal. This was highlighted by Minister for Employment Parveen Bala while encouraging Fijian workers to get vaccinated. Bala says the government has dedicated its effort to advance a people-focused response, including the recovery approach to deal with the unprecedented effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. He also stated that it is important for all stakeholders to recognize that globally, under new normal, COVID vaccination will become mandatory for cross-border travel, and this, in all likelihood, will include travel for work, and is already the case for the Pacific Mobility Labour Scheme. The Employment Minister also applauded and acknowledged all workers who have chosen to be vaccinated.
The Fijian government continues to ramp up its vaccination rollout plan with a welcome news that we have completed 36% of our targeted population to date and continue to move towards higher percentages across the population as the best measure to counter the pandemic and move towards opening our economy and our borders.
And to our latest COVID-19 update. There were 266 new cases in the 24-hour period ending 8 a.m. today. The Central Division once again has the majority of the new infections. Fiji has recorded 3,259 cases since April. There are now 2,568 active cases in isolation, with 736 recoveries in total. The COVID-19 death toll stands at 15. Up ahead, SDG goals affected. And government has a plan to recover from COVID-19. Welcome back. The COVID-19 pandemic has retracted the Pacific's ability to achieve the 17 Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. This is mostly due to economic development retraction experienced in countries, including Fiji. Cristiano Luaya reports that even so, there have been some progress.
COVID-19 has widened the inequality and inequity gap between the developed and developing economies, with Fiji falling in the latter.
But the recent UN Economic Social Commission for Asia Pacific report pointed out that the Pacific sub-region is now not on track to achieve any of the 17 goals by 2030, unfortunately.
Fiji Council of Social Services earlier stated that vulnerable individuals are more at risk during this current crisis.
You know, when we think about the Sustainable Development Goals and the huge leaps that we've made, I think there's a lot of regression after this, and I'm just thinking about, children's situations in disasters and humanitarian settings, like what we're going through right now.
Small island developing states like ours have been hit the hardest by the pandemic, and with recovery trajectories shifted further down the line, the situation is not looking too favorable for Fiji. Christiana Uluwai, FBC News.
Police are currently investigating allegations of sexual abuse against a financial and hospital executive. Police confirmed that the man was interviewed today at the Criminal Investigation Department headquarters. It is understood that the man was brought in from Nandi for a caution interview. It's not all doom and gloom for Fiji, as some are trying to make it out to be. Minister for Economy, Ayaz Said Qayyum, stresses that stable, long-term planning will be the key to getting Fiji back on track. He has assured that all arms of government know what needs to be done, and Fijians will see results in time to come.
There are indications that the government is exploring ways to continue helping those worst affected by COVID-19.
For us, what is really critically important is highlighted by somebody, is to provide sustained livelihoods, to ensure that people don't miss out from the social safety net that we are putting in place.
What the institutions are doing is working collectively, collaboratively, in ensuring that we do address these concerns. And that's the answer.
With a wide cross-section of Fiji hit by the pandemic, Syed Qayyum says there is no instant gratification.
We obviously cannot be distracted by people who are wanting to make destructive noises. We have to focus on the job at hand. There's a lot of people who, as we've said previously, who are, wanting to engage in populist politics.
The government has come under fire with claims that there is no plan and that not enough is being done to help average families.
Those countries that have had a long-term focus and have a stable approach to policy development are the ones who actually do well coming out of it. So that's really the focus. In fact, every single group that we have met are focused on the future.
The budget announcement is scheduled for July 16th. Edwin Nand, FBC News.
Minibus and taxi operators are pleading with the public to get vaccinated if they are eligible to do so. Following budget consultations with the Minister for Economy, public service vehicle drivers want nothing more than to go back to normal, to be able to earn for their families, and this will require Fijians to be vaccinated. Lina Rees has more.
Apart from requests made for rebates on fuel, spare parts and tires, PSV drivers know this will not be as beneficial if they are not able to operate at full capacity.
As soon as they get a chance, they should go and have themselves vaccinated, see? So in that regards, The quicker we can do this, the earlier we can, back to normal.
And now they are back again and asking for only 2 passengers, and again we are requesting them to give us a 3 passenger to be taken in taxis. The income is not that much, and at this time the private vehicles are taking advantage.
Public service vehicle drivers are grateful. Their views were heard during the virtual budget consultations that continue.
It was like first time that the government has invited Fiji Taxi Association to be a part of a budget consultation.
It's not much to say because we wanted to ask about the duty concession. Well, there is no duty on the new minibus. See? When you buy new minibus, there's no duty. That's duty free. See?
The 2021-2022 national budget will be announced on the 16th of next month at 7:30 p.m. Lena Rees, FBC News.
Staff at the Nasinu and Nosori municipalities have been put on reduced working hours for a month due to financial constraints. Chief Executive Anurashika Bari says the current health crisis has resulted in a drastic decline in their cash flow. Bari assures that despite reduced working hours, the municipal council services are not affected. Kelly Vavala reports.
As COVID-19 takes a toll on ratepayers, the Nosori and Nasinu town councils are struggling to stay afloat.
We shared the financial to all the staff. We had a discussion with them. Then we also consulted the union, and that's how we arrived with the decision of reducing the hours. We haven't thought of either extending at this point in time, but we are having discussions with staff to see how we can overcome this challenge.
Local Government Minister Pramil Kumar says the financial status of both councils is worrying.
They've come to an agreement that the staff will be working on reduced hours for a month, and most staff at both the councils, they're working 4 days a week.
Despite this challenge, the town councils are providing normal services in their respective municipalities.
All municipal councils, including Nosori, they're going to continue providing garbage collection services. They will continue providing market management services, depot management services, grass cutting and drainage cleaning services will be on need basis.
The minister says as of now they've given some leeway to ratepayers who are also facing financial difficulties because of this health crisis. Kelly Vathala, FBC News.
And pandemic puts archery in a tough spot. This and more coming up. Due to the pandemic and restrictions in place, preparation for the Olympics has been made more difficult for archery. With only 28 days left for the much-anticipated Games, Archery Fiji is still hanging on to the hopes of getting their athletes confirmed for next month. Venina Rakautonga reports.
Not being able to complete the qualification series due to the pandemic and its restrictions is a worry beyond control for the Federation.
At the moment, we're just waiting for the International Federation to get back to us on the status of the quota spot for Oceania and how that turns out. And then from there, we'll be submitting our names for approval.
3 archers are now just waiting for the final decision from the International Federation.
Definitely, that's a concern, but at the moment, it's out of our hands. So all we wait for is to hear back from the International Federation.
Team Fiji chef de mission Patrick Bauer says archery and a few other sporting bodies are still yet to confirm their spots. A few Team Fiji athletes, including the national sevens team, will depart for Tokyo on the 8th of next month. Venina Rakautonga, FBC Sports.
District players who are opting to play football when the season resumes must be fully vaccinated. This is the new guideline that has been set by the Fiji Football Association as part of its return to play protocol. FIGFA Chief Executive Mohammed Yusuf says they want to continue where they left off in the 2021 season and hopes it will be free of pandemic-related disruptions. For this to happen, Yusuf says all players need to be vaccinated.
We have already issued circulars to all the 20 districts. All the players who will be fully vaccinated are the ones who will be allowed to play football once we resume our back to play program.
Mainly cloudy weather conditions prevailed over most places today. In the west, it was a sunny day with a cloudy afternoon. Eastwards from Pacific Harbour to Suva, cloudy periods with some showers. Up north, clear skies with cool temperatures. At sea, east to southeast winds, 10 to 15 knots, moderate seas. Turning to the tide, the next high tide is at 1:37 a.m. with the next low tide at 8:11 a.m. Sunrise is at 6:37. For tomorrow, cloudy periods with brief showers over Honolulu, Taveuni, Lau Group, eastern parts and the interior of Vitilevu. Elsewhere, mainly fine with cool nights. Looking further onto Monday, fine apart from brief showers over the eastern parts and the interior of the larger islands. Recapping our main stories, COVID-19 infections remain in triple digits, test positivity rate concerning, and Fijian workers urged to get vaccinated. For these stories and others, you can tune in daily to our sister radio station, Gold FM. To our poll question, this week we're asking, do you prefer online shopping during this pandemic? Visit our FBC News website to answer. Send us newsworthy pictures and videos via email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our various social media accounts. And you can also download our FBC app to keep updated with the very latest in news and sports and listen to our 6 radio stations live. That's your news for tonight. Stay safe. Madamanda.